I'm like, what? It was bananas. And I just, it really is surreal because I'm trying to express to people, I really honestly and earnestly never expected to go into politics. Mm-hmm. It is the craziest feeling seeing your name be up there. Sarah Smith goes on Fox News. Sarah Smith advances to the general. It's so bizarre. And having my friends in California were like, you're all over the news down here. I'm like, what is happening?
So let me
surreal.
So let me ask you this. How did you do it?
We put in the work. I mean, the reality is people have heard my incumbent. They've seen some things he's read where he says, oh, it's just Bernie voters that are mad at me. That is so patently untrue. And that is so dismissive of not just those voters, but that's dismissive of the hard work and pardon my language, the ass busting that my volunteers put into this campaign. Yeah. They worked their tails off. We knocked over 20,000 doors. We only spiked in name recognition in the last 6 weeks. We scrambled in 6 weeks, and we covered twice as much ground as we had during the rest of the year that we've been campaigning. We called over 26,000 numbers. Actually, I think it was 32,000 numbers. And I think we made something like 48,000 text messages. Wow. We busted our butts. We did the work. We were out in the community. We were working hard. It was not disenfranchised Bernie voters that were voting for me. I had first-time voters coming out for me. An angry libertarian dad called me because his son wanted to vote for me, and he was going to take him to vote for me, and he wanted to yell at me first. But then by the end of it, it was really great, actually. It was really funny to listen to, and I was just trying to talk to him, and I was like, Guy, I understand what you're saying. Let me talk to you about how the policy affects you. And we had a really good, candid conversation. And he's like, well, I don't vote, but I'm going to respect my son's decision to vote for you.
That might be one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
It was pretty great. It was unexpected. It's like 9:00 at night and the campaign line rings. I was like, oh, I'll answer it. And I picked it up. And then it's this very angry man. And I'm like, oh, it's 10:00 at night. But it was, and I mean, it's conversations like that they're stressful in the moment, but they're meaningful and they're impactful. And that man will remember that. And he might not vote for me, but he respects his son's decision to vote for me. And that I think is hugely important.
That's awesome.
That doesn't sound like an angry Bernie voter. I think Adam's just trying to rehash the 2016 election all over again. He's trying to disenfranchise my campaign. He's trying to dismiss us like he's been trying to do since day one because he's scared. We got him below 50% of the vote. That means, according to the DCCC, that he's vulnerable, and we're coming for him. And we see that vulnerability, and we're going to take him out.
Wow. So I don't want to talk too much about Adam Smith because this is your moment, and I want this to be about you. But I do have I have to pick a bone here, okay? According to Adam Smith, your opponent, you do not live in your district. Sarah Smith, why don't you live in your district?
So this was a great, I'm sure you guys saw my tweet thread where I ranted about this a little bit. Yeah. A lot of people did. So we did live in the district. I lived there for a while, and I actually had roommates like most millennials do. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you guys the fully detailed story. One of them, we had two, and they were childhood friends of ours, and they're great guys. We love them. They moved up here with us, and one of them got a promotion and was moving down to California. And so we realized, oh God, we're not going to be able to afford the rent on this place. Our landlady had been talking a lot about selling the place. Now we were going to be her last renters, and we couldn't afford to find anywhere else to live in the area because it was priced out of all of our range. Even with 3 people, it's priced out of a 3-person income, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and so
we
started looking around, and we stumbled upon an amazing opportunity. I'll tell you guys, it is bizarre to house hunt based off of district lines.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
But I've got Redfin open on one side, then I've got the district checker on the other, and I'm like copy pasting addresses. But I mean, we really put a solid effort in. The places that we found that were in our price range needed way too much work. It was going to be a huge slog to live in them. It was really not going to work for us. And we happened to stumble across this foreclosure that no one had put in any bids on. It was in great condition. It was in the low 200s, which was amazing because that does not happen in this market. It's a townhouse. And we saw that I saw it was in Kent. And so I jumped on it immediately before Google mapping the address. And then I turned around after we put in our offer, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to look at the address. So I pulled it up. It is literally, he's making this huge stink and he's blowing it up. I live 2,600 feet from the district line. To put it in perspective, Pramila Jayapal, whose coattails he is extremely comfortable riding and who he endorsed in the 2016 race, lived 21 blocks into his district.
Okay, that's living outside of your district. Yeah. That is outside your district.
Yes, it is. And if he's so bothered by 2,600 feet, I will go ahead and I will park my car 2,600 feet into the district and I will live out of it like one of my volunteers does who lives in his district. So fine, you want to play this game? Some working people have to do that in our district. I'm happy to go there and do that with them.
Call them out. I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. But I mean, come on, that's ridiculous, Adam. Like, what are you trying to do there? It's like
we live in a district it's young and it's full of upheaval. We have a huge immigrant population. It is a privilege for young people to be able to say that they live in the same district they grew up in and they haven't been priced out. That is a privilege. And what a ridiculous thing to say. All you have to do in the state of Washington is live in the state of Washington. I have worked in the 9th district since I moved here. I still work in the 9th district. All of my best friends live in the 9th district. I just went to dinner with some friends of mine that live in the Renton Highlands. Some of my best friends just moved into the complex next to the Berliner pub. This is my good friend Julio, is my old neighbor. Keeps inviting us to his family barbecues. I'm in the 9th all of the time. And to say that I don't represent the 9th, despite living most of my time that I've been in Washington in that district and working in that district, that's ridiculous. It's just dismissive, and it's trying to reinforce tribalism, and it's trying to get people to stop talking about policy and platform and focus on semantics. I'm here to talk about policy. If he wants to harp on my zip code, he can go ahead and talk about how he lives in a $1.4 million house on Cougar Mountain as far as he can get from his working class constituents.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cougar a little Mountain? Tired of that dress discussion.
Yeah. And that I had a feeling that was going to be the reaction, but I love that. And that's good. Because this is ridiculous. Anyway, well, let's stop talking about him because this is about you and your success. Let me ask you a couple of questions here about your campaign. If you had to pinpoint, this might be a challenging question because we've asked this to a couple others who have been on the campaign for a long time, and they've always struggled to answer this one. If you could pinpoint one moment, what would be the most memorable moment of your campaign thus far? Aside from winning, because I think that would top it all. Aside from winning,
aside from that, what would be the most memorable moment? That's a great question. Man, I'm trying to think. I got retweeted by John Cusack once. That was really cool. But
okay. That is cool. Yeah.
That was really neat. But I think, honestly, the most memorable moment, I'm going to give it to election night, but I'm going to give it to a specific thing that happened on election night. So I have some incredible volunteers. They've been with us forever. I have one guy who's been with us since the day we launched, and it's amazing to see them all in one room. But there's one kid, I have this kid, Ross, who's just amazing. He is from Bellevue. It goes to one of the schools up there. He amassed this cool high school army to go out and door knock for me. And then there's my other high school kid. I call them my high school kids. I just love them. And his name's Andrew. And I have to say, Andrew has made a huge impact on me. This kid gets up, goes to swim practice, asks our field director to give him a beat to walk, and then he'll just go and he'll walk neighborhoods. And he does this for like 4 to 6 hours every single day during his summer. This is his summer break. He goes and door knocks for me. And this kid door knocked with a sprained ankle at one point. I was like, Andrew, sit down. Wow. But I mean, wow. I got to meet on election night. He invited his parents, and the moment where I saw him with his parents and I kind of half like pushed everyone out of the way so I could get over there. I was like, you must be Andrew's parents. I got really excited. And they shook my hand, and his mom looks at me and she goes, I have never seen Andrew so passionate or fired up by anybody before like this. Wow. He's always been active. And she goes, you just brought out a side of our son that's amazing. And I got to stand there and I got to tell them, because his mom's like, he's your biggest fan. I got to stop and tell her, no, I'm your son's biggest fan. I think he is just an incredible kid. And I got to tell her what his activism has meant to me, what his feet on the ground have meant to me, how important it's been for me to see him get so involved and be so passionate. And I watched him stand up and speak at a rally once, which was amazing. And I got to talk to him and be there with him after. And it's like, Andrew, you did amazing. But getting those opportunities and seeing him grow as a young man and being able to meet his parents, the two parents that have supported him unconditionally and have just been solid rocks for him through this whole process and came with him to the watch party. That was just probably one of the most profound things, seeing a kid be so enthusiastic about this campaign that he wants his parents to see it too and be involved. I think that was probably the most profound moment for me. And that was the moment where I realized the impact of this campaign is so much bigger than just me.
Wow. Yeah, your whole campaign, all your volunteers sound awesome. I mean, good people, this is what I believe, at least. I believe good people tend to help out good people. And I think you can see that in your campaign. Guys like Andrew, kids like Andrew, they're going to be inspired. And maybe they'll be doing this one day. And somebody else will be helping them. And maybe they're going to be the next congressman. It's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah.
It is. And I mean, I really hope so. I keep telling Andrew, I'm like, if you need a college letter of recommendation, let me know. And when you launch your first campaign, tell me so I can be your first endorsement. So, I mean, just watching these kids be so moved and inspired. I mean, how could you not want to be out walking and knocking doors with them? How could I not? Every day I show up and I see Andrew in his sneakers and I'm like, oh, and then Ross shows up and he's got his army of kids and they're all in their sneakers. And I'm like, give me some lit. I'm going out.
Wow.
So what is left for your campaign to get to November and pull off a win over Adam Smith? What has to happen from here on in?
Right now, what has to happen is we got to get out there and we got to keep doing the work. We got to keep showing up. We can't just get comfortable and complacent because we're in the general. We have to keep putting in the hours. We have to keep putting in the energy. We got to keep knocking doors. We have something like 300,000 likely projected voters in the general. We have a lot of doors to knock. And if we can't knock on their doors by November, I at least want to get them a text or a phone call. We at least want to hit them on social media. We at least want to hit them with an email. But we're getting out there. We're playing to our strengths. So our campaign has always been really good at community organizing. We've always been really good at community engagement. And those are our strengths. That's what we're going to do. We're planning a series of block parties that's going to be coming up soon. We're planning a series of barbecues we want to get out there and participate in. We've got some volunteer appreciation events that we want to do because it's really important to me also that we make sure our volunteers know that they are loved and adored by everyone in this campaign. But I mean, that's really what we're doing. We're meeting with community leaders. We're going out and we're speaking to marginalized communities. We're working with marginalized communities, and we're taking the steps to keep doing the work.
It's great. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's I'm sure that's gonna continue. I think you're only gonna get more and more people to come out and help you as everything goes on. I got one more question for you. You ready for this one?
I'm always ready. Go for it.
What was it like being on Fox News?
Oh man. It was. I didn't know what to think when I first got the interview request. And I was like, why not? Let's do it. And my campaign manager looks at me, he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's go on Fox News. And so we're there and we're in the studio and I'm sitting in the chair and I've got all my makeup on and I look really nice and I've got my hair done and I glance over at my campaign manager and I'm like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? And he starts laughing. He's like, well, it's too late now. They're getting you on at 5. And I'm like, all right, well, just hope I don't crash and burn. And then I'm sitting there and I've got the guy in my ear and then he's like spewing off platform points of mine. First of all, I always want to correct the record. I've never said anything about open borders. I don't know where he got that. That was not something I've talked about. It's something that we discussed in my campaign, but it's not like on my platform. So I don't really know where he got it from. So that was kind of surprising to me.
That is Fox News reporting at its best.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's why I made a face when he said it. I was like, but and then I know what he's doing. He's going to walk me into a gotcha question. We knew exactly what that interview request was. That interview request was an attempt to garner enough about me and embarrass me enough that they can run a hit piece on me. But then they did the dumbest possible thing Fox News could have ever done. they asked me a question that I'm really well versed in. Because if there's one thing about me that my team will tell you, it's I'm a really pragmatic person. I'm a pragmatic optimist. So I plan for the worst, hope for the best, and I always know exactly how we're going to do it. It's why I keep saying I'm cautiously optimistic and I'm waiting till the votes be certified. So when I talk about policy and I look at policy, I don't just say, I like that, good, let's do that. I look at that and I say, I like that, good, let's talk about the logistics. How do we pay for it? That happens to be the first question I ask every time I look at policy. So when they asked me that question, I was like, yes, thank you.